All right, we're live. You ready to start answering some questions?
Yeah, a little later. My blood sugar's gone down. Usually it's a 12, isn't it?
Yes. Well, one. Yeah, 12 or one.
All right, let's get going.
Sounds good. All right, so first question right off the bat here.
Okay.
On daily topic, it seems like nowadays, but how will tariffs impact the price of appliances?
Well, it depends. I think the tariffs last time a lot of companies, specifically Samsung and LG, built washers, seeming,
Hmm.
and a lot of other appliances here in the country. But it really depends on how far it goes. A lot of companies already had price increases. LG, Thermador, Bosch, Sub Zero, right?
Yep, exactly.
Um,
Yep.
G is what, this month?
Coming up. Yep, couple weeks.
So it really depends. A lot of the parts come from China. That's a problem. A lot of appliances are made in Mexico. That's a problem. So it really depends. I think as the year goes on, and it really depends on, it's almost stop and start. If it goes bad and the EU follows, then you got Mila and all the European companies there. So could get bad by the end of the year. But right now, I really don't think it's going to get worse. I think availability is starting to get a little tight in some areas, but
For sure, as people are starting to bring in the appliances with some of those kind of other price increases like you talked about. And it's one of those things that's kind of still a little bit of an unknown. Even grills now, that's something that we've talked about. Like grills, we're seeing like a brand like a Heston had a major price increase.
30%.
And we're seeing 30%, exactly. And we're seeing,
Weber,
a lot of that stuff is coming from China or Canada. So we're seeing that too.
Weber's talking about a 30%
Yeah.
increase.
Yeah.
So
All right, let's go on live questions here. And this is from Dave. And Dave says, would you recommend going with plumbed or non-plumbed Wolf convection steam oven in new construction? Unsure of how often it will be used at this point as we've never had one before.
I have one. I have the new
There you
Wolf.
go.
I replaced the old one with a new one. It's fantastic.
Hmm.
I mean, you're hitting buttons like my reheat, and it's so much better than a microwave. It's night and day. The texture, the flavor, way better. But to give you an idea, I've never. The only time it runs out of water is when I forget to put it in, and I use it from last time. I think by and large, it depends on how you cook. I think it is set for how many hours? 3 hours is it in steam? So you'd
Yeah,
really.
typically at least a couple hours. Yeah, depending on how much steam you're using.
I've never come close. But that said, it depends. I have the non-plumbed and it's fine. With the
Yeah.
with the new construction, you never have to worry about it though. I'm sorry, with new construction, with the plumbed, you never have to worry about it.
Yeah. But with new construction, it's certainly a lot easier to get that installed
Yeah,
too. So
exactly.
there's a convenience factor there. If it's not new construction, absolutely, I would say don't bother. That's, probably more work, really more work than really you need to. But it's a convenience thing. But like you said, it's not something that you're changing out every 20 minutes or anything like that. You probably really don't have to change it out often at all. So,
No, certainly I've had it for 20 minutes and haven't come close.
yeah.
So
All right. Our next question here. This one is from Teresa. It says, if I'm buying a Thermador steam oven and a speed oven, do I still need a regular wall oven?
well, I was going to say yes, and then I can remember that Thermo's got that 30-inch steam oven.
Hmm.
Um, but it doesn't. So that takes the place of a regular oven.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's still a little bit smaller than like a traditional wall oven. So,
I um, I don't know how intuitive that Thermador steam oven is. Like I love the Miele and Wolf, and we've done tons of demos, and I have the Wolf. I'm not sure how intuitive it is, but you'd have to take a look inside. Like with the 30-inch steam, it depends on how you cook, because it can cook a lot of different stuff. I'm just not sure. Good thing we just hired a chef to vet all this stuff out. But I don't think it's as robust as the Miele or Wolf.
yeah, certainly not from a control perspective or probably ease of use for sure. And I still would say, really depends on how many large roasts or turkey, chicken, things like that you're doing, because even that 30-inch Thermador steam oven is definitely going to be smaller than what a comparable single regular wall oven would be. Well, it really depends, I would say. I'd say in most cases, I'd say most people probably will still have a steam oven paired with a single wall oven. But again, if you're doing a lot of smaller meals or things like that, then you probably could get away with one of the larger ones, but still going to be smaller than what you're used to with a
You
regular.
take a look at it. You got to ask how you use it, what's your cooking style, and everything else.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, though. For everything else, other than that Thermador, you'd buy a separate wall oven, no question.
All right, next question. This one, let's see. This one is from Sloat S. Why are gas ranges bad for the environment?
Well, they give off a lot of emissions, more than induction electric. You also have gas lines. This actually started in California. The reason how it started in California is that gas lines are vulnerable to earthquakes. But you've got the emissions, you have the transportation of gas, that whole carbonization. That's the problem. Electric is certainly safer from a earthquake standpoint, but you don't get as many emissions from electric. Although you still get although it's only 12 amps for gas and it's up to 50 for induction.
Yeah.
So
that's the tough thing. Yeah.
You got to generate more energy, which causes more emissions against gas, which has emissions. So I don't know.
All right, let's go to this one. This one is from Kexi Long, and it says, would you recommend any LG dishwasher over a Bosch 800 series?
So one of my neighbors, she loves it because they have a steam generator in the front. The steam does two things. It lifts the food off to wash, and it helps with the dynamic drying. And LG is the most reliable dishwasher we sell. That said, the comments on YouTube have been less than positive with people that have had kind of issues with it. But they've been the most reliable dishwasher based on 33,000 service calls last couple of years. But the Bosch 800, nothing dries like the Zeolite. The mineral they put into it emits heat and absorbs moisture, which is really drying in a nutshell, right? So I like that one too. Really what it comes down to on a comparison this good is who can fix the product better in your area, right? Is really what it comes down to. And the pricing at the time that you're going to buy it, because there's such wide swings in pricing these days. So those two, but these are two very good dishwashers.
Absolutely. The LGs have the Bosch's are great. The 800 series is really great dishwasher, but the LGs have come a long way really over the last year or so. Even in some of their models with the pocket handle there, it has the 1 hour wash and dry. Like you said, where the steam dry and the steam cleaning as well. Like they're really good dishwashers for sure. All right. So our next question.
Thoughts on a Beko refrigerator? I noticed you're not selling them anymore. We sold a lot of Beko. Primarily, they had a good value proposition, and they're the only probably brand that had product back in 2020, 2022. I love their story about their crisper story with it actually maintains what is it called,
not the BioFresh, but they had the humidity with the
humidity, and then they had the ethylene kind of gas.
Yeah,
really good. But they made a really interesting decision as to raise their pricing. Yeah, it's blue light. That's right. It's blue light. So what happens is it tricks the fruits and vegetable into prolonged photosynthesis to stay fresher longer, because the blue light simulates blue lighting is high on the Kelvin scale, like sunlight. And I'm like, wow, this is gimmicky. But we used to sell lighting, and we used to sell it based on Kelvin color. Interesting product, but they tried to go head to head and tried to, with Bosch and other brands and be a premium brand. They just didn't have the name recognition, and they just they went through a couple of management changes. It's kind of like ASCO. ASCO went through 4 companies and made a great product, but just disappeared.
Yeah, and we've had a couple questions on Beko too, and that's kind of it too. Like even their dishwashers, they made some really good dishwashers, but when with the change in their price point, and when you're really comparing them to say an 800 series Bosch, where sometimes the Bosch was even less expensive, that's where it was difficult for them to kind of compete in that space for sure. All right, next one here is from
Are there any
Chris.
36-inch electric ranges? It's a great question because you can buy a 36-inch induction range and have less capacity than a 30-inch range. The biggest out there right now would be Wolf. It's 6.3 cubic, which is exactly the same size as the largest single range in 30-inch, which is LG. That's the biggest published is Wolf at 6.3 cubic feet.
All right, let's look at this one from Dave. He says we have a GE all-in-one washer dryer and have found keeping it clean of lint is a challenge because it's hard to access beyond the filter. Any brands handle it better. Miele, we want a heat pump dryer.
Yeah, every brand handles it better. All-in-ones, all-in-ones have got like more positive and negative reviews than any product we've ever sold. Here's the thing with an all-in-one. You have to remove the lint. Now the lint, when you put something into your washing machine, a lot of that lint goes through the drain. It drains right through the hose. And an all-in-one doesn't have the ability to do that. So you have these really hefty filters by the exchanger, but you need to be super religious about changing that filter and cleaning that filter every single time. If you don't and it gets into the machine, it's a big problem. The old all-in-ones didn't even have a filter, so it was almost planned obsolescence, right?
Yeah. So like you said, nothing really better. It's just that's kind of the nature of some of those machines as well. Yeah. And all-in-ones, really, there's not many options there besides really that. I mean, there's a few now, but GE would you say probably still the best of that bunch versus LGE and LG and
Samsung. But the brand that's probably the best heat pump dryer is Miele. 3.9% repair in the first year. That's so low for something that good. And they are the only ones. They went all heat pump in 2018.
Yeah.
7 years ago. That's all they made, heat pumps. And they make a good dryer, but it's small. LG's got a new one out that's their full size. That's pretty good. And they have it in there.
And then they have the wash tower. Yeah.
The wash tower heat pump.
Yeah.
Too.
All right. Next question. This one. Let's see. This one's from Janice. It says, what are the pros and cons of a counter depth refrigerator?
Pros that it looks good, right? It doesn't stick out from the cabinet. So you don't see like this textured black side in the middle of your all white kitchen. The cons aren't as much as they used to be because LG and Samsung have made, when I first started, Amanda made the first built-in counter depth refrigerator. It was 19.8 cubic feet. Yeah. The new LG and Samsungs are 26.5 cubic feet. So you have larger cubic footage in that same counter depth kind of profile. Problem is that, the doors are bigger on those mega units. So you need spacers on either side of them. So you can't put them exactly at the end. The new LG zero clearance, you can do it's slightly smaller, 23.7 cubic feet. But the cons to a counter depth has always been capacity, but less so now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next question. This one comes from Tom. Is the new Wolf steam oven better than Miele's?
Oh, it's good. It's really good because they added 3 different reheat modes. We can reheat crispy, which is something you couldn't do in steam. You can reheat humid. So you have one for kind of like meats, one for rices, and one for anything else you want to do. And they have the gourmet. So if you don't know how to cook with steam, you hit the button, you hit the food type, and it figures it out for you. But Miele's operates the same way. I think it's got more automated menu recipes. You can do kind of like
menu cooking.
So your rice comes out sooner, your meat, you can put them all in one and then take them out as they cook. But both are really intuitive.
Yeah,
really.
Miele also has a couple versions too, where they kind of have their standard size. Where the Wolf on the new one, they've definitely increased the width of theirs compared to the old model. Miele still has kind of two sizes, one that's similar to the Wolf, but then they have that XXL steam oven that is a little bit bigger in size too, a little bit taller. So size will be a little bit bigger as well with the Miele. Okay, so next question. From Maggie. When building a new home, how does the order date versus the delivery date months later impact the start of the warranty period? I just hate the idea of a warranty starting while appliances remain stored in boxes.
I don't think we have that problem because we do the service work on it pretty much. And we always went by delivery date. And we do it by occupancy date on
New
power
construction.
tools, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so if you're building a new home and you have a certificate of occupancy, you should be able to provide that and have that warranty date adjusted. You know, granted that your dealer is really the servicer, but you know, the manufacturer should be able to really adjust that as well.
that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Here's the
might be a little more difficult.
Let me tell you something. If you don't control service, that's not going to happen. Because here's why less people do service, because the warranty rates of reimbursement are so low. Nobody does it under warranty unless they sold it to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll find any reason to get out of it. I know it's delivery date and occupancy permit, but it is really hard to find warranty service that's not either factory, and that's hit or miss, or dealers. Dealers will do it because they have to do it. But
Exactly.
finding that independent service agent that does it for Samsung, or that first name come to mind, or someone else, really hard. So that's what should happen. Yeah. What does happen is probably totally different.
Yeah. So at the very least, really never would start on your order date. It's really your delivery date. But again, build a new construction. Yeah, we would do that based on occupancy date. All right, next question. This one from Ken. It says, when are the Miele, Wolf, and Gaggenau price increases coming? Are any of them about to issue updated induction products? So a couple of questions there.
Well, Wolf and Gaggenau are already up. Gaggenau was what, end of last year, and Wolf was end of last month, right?
Yep.
And then you got Miele that had a price drop, but now that I think we're in a trade war with EU, so that'll change, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're never too sure what's coming around the corner. And then as far as induction products, Wolf is coming out. So really, Miele as well is coming out with a 36-inch induction range, where previously they only had the 30. And Wolf's going to be coming out later this year with a 48-inch induction range as well. So
yeah, Blue Star has it out. Aga has it out. Fisher Paykel has it out. I think Miele has gotten really aggressive, but we'll see how aggressive they are with tariffs coming in from the EU. But I like that brand.
All right, let's go to the next one here. From Valerie. It says, I was planning on purchasing a dual fuel range as I have had for decades. What are the pros and cons of changing to induction?
Well, if you change to induction, first you got to see if you can do it. You're going to 50 amps instead of 12 amps. So now you need, maybe it depends on the state, plumber, electrician, new wiring right to the junction box, and a new outlet. So that would be a con. It costs about, according to an electrician, about $3,500 in Boston to do currently. That's a con. I think gas will give you grilling. Induction will not. But in terms of everything that makes a stove, speed, simmer, venting, all that stuff, I gotta believe that induction's better. It's much more efficient. The only downside to it, it's less reliable because it's more susceptible to voltage spikes. So if you have them in your area, it can be a problem. Our electrician said something about a smoother you can buy that would smooth any spikes. You can get it on Amazon for like $600, I think.
Yeah, I think induction really, and we're seeing more and more of that even in that pro range kind of category. I think there's just really so many pros to induction. Obviously, there's some things you have to change and the electrical component of it. But as far as just performance and use, induction's really safer, faster, more temperature control. I'm definitely a fan of induction. Of course, like you said, if you really like to have a grill or a griddle, you're not going to get that necessarily with induction, but definitely a lot of pros there.
It can griddle. It can definitely griddle.
Yeah. As far as a built-in griddle.
It certainly can't grill.
All right, next question. This one's from Christine. When is the best time to buy appliances?
Well, I would say around a holiday, but we've been on Black Friday pricing since 2023. And what happened is it's kind of like the Peloton phenomenon, where Peloton built all this capacity, and then as soon as the pandemic was over, people weren't buying it because they went to clubs and traveled and everything else. Same thing in the appliance business. It was really popular, and now it's, people are doing other things with their money. So you have the same promotion ability you always did. Unfortunately, on the horizon, you have tariffs, possible supply chain issues. So buying sooner is probably better, depending on when those tariffs drop.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing now. There's definitely a lot of unknowns with pricing. So I would always say, really the best time to buy is now. If you're kind of sold on a product and that's really what you want. And the thing with the deposits as well is that, really the deposits, check with the appliance store that you're there. But those deposits are really there to protect you. The deposit would guarantee the pricing. You should still be able to make any changes. You still should be able to cancel the order. It's there to protect that pricing. Absolutely.
Definitely get refunded.
Yeah,
and do that. All right, because I don't think they'll be going down, certainly.
Exactly.
The other thing you can do is get a quote and just stay in touch with the salesperson, right? Provided they stay in the appliance department, right?
All right, next question. This one comes from, there we go. Nancy, do all induction ranges have repair issues after using the high heat oven self-clean?
I would hope not. We wouldn't be selling too many. We'd be servicing a heck of a lot more than we do. I think, again, when it comes to induction, you're looking at, control panel issues, basically. That's about it.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's necessarily just only when it comes to induction, when you come into the high heat self-clean. I think any range, certainly it's not something that you're going to do a ton. It's something you do really once a year. We always say don't do that around a holiday or before a big get together, because you're really revving that engine. It's like revving an engine up. That high heat self clean, it's really kind of putting everything to full blast. It's not necessarily the best thing for any oven, and you're starting to see a lot of them now coming out with a steam clean or something like that. So I'd say it's something you want to do more consistent and not wait to that once a year to only do a high heat self clean there too.
Yeah, don't wait before the holiday to do it. Just in case. It's just another variable you don't need.
Absolutely. I think we got one more question here today, Steve. And this one's from Christine. How do you get the most for your money without having your kitchen become outdated in a year?
Well, you buy all stainless steel appliances and you never have to worry about it, right?
Yep.
I really think that, if we look at appliances, stainless steel has been the finish, and, people are sick of it, but it matches every cabinet type. You can put it in white, you put it in any color, right? The colors you have now that are option, the best ones are black and white, right? That would be 2 and 3. And they can do custom colors from a number of different manufacturers. I think if you want to outdate your kitchen, I put a post in, I took a picture at KBiz of an all blue kitchen. And it looked good now. But 5 years from now, maybe not. So I always say that my next door neighbor moved, one of my best friends, he moved to the other side of town, right? And they put in a salmon colored Villeroy Bach bathroom. Well, salmon becomes pink over time, right? And my friend bought it from his dad and he replaced all those bath fixtures because it looked stupid after a while. I guess if you want to get it outdated, buy a custom color or just cover it. We've done that here in our store, right? Mm-hmm. Again, it's up to you. It's your kitchen, right? So that's how I think you can do it. It's really hard to make something outdated with appliances. You can do that more with tile or cabinets or flooring, with the trends. And then you got to like it.
All right. I think that's it for questions today. We have an upcoming webinar here.
Salmon. That's right. Salmon. Yeah. Appliances you should avoid. I think I was in a bad mood when I wrote this one. Because we don't cover things you shouldn't do. We cover things that you shouldn't do depending on who you are. So it's going to be pretty interesting. I know a few manufacturers will be tuning in. Someone just said about KBiz. I just wrote a post, the 10 best appliances from KBiz. Mm-hmm. You can catch it on our blog, right? 1 through 10. So out of the 50 or 60 vendors I had to slog through, there were 10 actual ones. But you should look at it. If you're renovating your kitchen, I think you'll find value in this, really. We put a lot of work into it, so it should be pretty good. And we'll answer questions.
Sounds good.
Like today. All right, good questions, everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday.